On the line with me right now, Emily Highfield, talking about the Suldusk album, which is called Lunar Falls. Emily, thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me, Mel.
It's a very great pleasure. When did you get the inspiration for this? How did it come about?
This album has been a natural evolution from just some songwriting I started uploading on SoundCloud just for my own therapy, I guess. And then, just getting like a live incarnation of the sound with another acoustic guitarist. And the further I went into the songwriting, the more I started to realize how you're metal for life. It never leaves you. It's a wonderful affliction. And, and I started to conceptualize like a bigger sound rather than just the more intimate stuff. There were other elements that I wanted to incorporate, and that's when the natural flow of going into a fully fledged studio and working with a professional producer evolved, and that's kind of how the album came out.
Now, was it initially just you, like jamming at home type thing?
It was yes, definitely, very much so. It was myself, my interface, my laptop, and my guitars, my little family of guitars. And being a bit of a loner and a bit of an introvert, just, it's my world, and it's such a wonderful way to articulate things that you can't say in any other way or place. And that's kind of how it started. And then it was just the SoundClouders who egged me on.
Yeah, okay.
And, I don't know if they were just, egging on a deluded fool, or I don't know, but encouraging me. I don't know. Was it bad or good? I think it was good overall, because I think I genuinely did feel some good feedback there. So I just kept going, and originally, and the concepts were pretty much coming at me. It was like after a long break from music, it was like I turned the tap, and the river, the water of creativity's just been flowing. So it's kind of with music, and especially with metal, you can run but you can't hide.
Exactly. Did you write all of this yourself, all of the album?
Yes, all of the songs, although two of the songs one's an adaptation of another band's song. I'm reluctant to call it a cover because the lyrics and the presentation are different. So there's more doom aspects. Mine's more acoustic based, and it's also a tribute to the artist rather than a cover. And the other song is a collaboration with one of my SoundCloud buddies, who's a one-man black metal project called Skigefigured, and he was writing some beautiful black metal infused acoustic compositions. And I just basically asked him, I love this piece of music, and that was the Drogue song, and I said, can I write something to this? It just spoke to me, and I just felt compelled to do it, and he gave it a blessing, and it ended up on the album because I don't know, every time I'd listen to it, I just do something.
Okay, when did all this start to come together? You mentioned before going into the studio. When was this? Where was this?
Geez, it feels like an eternity ago, but it was all last year. Pretty much, I was still tracking at this time last year. The process took a while. I think because a lot of the concepts were not realized pre-studio. So I would walk in and I'd say to Mark, the producer, look, we've got to get this tone right. It's got to be heavy, but it can't be generically heavy. It can't just be, an EVH pedal scooped sound. It's got to be, the distortion has to be something a little bit more washed out and different, so just getting those guitar tones took time, took fine tuning. Sometimes it was back to the drawing board. I think I frustrated Mark quite a bit, but I think between the two of us, we nutted it out, and he was just a delight to work with. And it was great. I had the other guitarist leave the project halfway through, and Mark and I then had to fill in the frequencies and improvise. So it was there were, like in anything, there's always challenges, but you just have to be resilient and see the big picture.
So you started jamming at home. You've got inspiration and a bit of egging on from your SoundCloud buddy. So you've gone in to make an album. Was it all the way along just planned as an album project?
No, honestly did not know where this would go. I got to a certain point on SoundCloud where I was getting a lot of followers, and I just kind of went, well, this is all a really safe, wonderful world, this wonderful platform of musicians writing to musicians, and I just kind of thought, do I still have something to offer the greater music sphere? And that was the challenge for myself, was maybe if I put something together, something professional, something elevated, maybe people would want to listen to it. I see myself primarily as a vocalist, although I am a guitarist and I think I'm a damn solid one, but vocals came first to me. So I wanted to hear more female vocals, I guess, something I could relate to a little bit more. So I wasn't really hearing much of that. And there's a lot of cool vocals out there, a lot of cool female vocals, who I admire and am inspired by. But I just wanted to know if I could offer something a little bit more or different.
You're in the studio. You spent a lot of time doing this. We've got an album at the end of it. What was the plan for release? Who's picking it up? Is anyone picking it up? I know you've got the Bandcamp thing happening.
Yes. So once the album was finished and mastered, the next step was to see if there would be any label interest. And of course that's very daunting, because on one hand you're very protective of this work, but on the other hand you've got to kind of put it out there. And this is, I guess, a bit of a test really, and it's nerve-wracking. But I put it out there and I got 3 offers, one was from a major label in the darker sphere, but with them there was just a few red flags with them in the whole process. The second one was with Northern Silence, and straight away I love Northern Silence Productions. That's one of the reasons I sent the album to him. He's essentially a one-man label operator from Germany, and his roster is to die for, in my humble opinion. I love all the atmospheric black metal artists he's got on there. Especially there's a project called Unrequited. There's a project called Hirotoire. That's a full band. He's had Amasseurs on there, who are a very black gazy band. He's had Ghost Bath. Like all these fantastic newcomers, they're a really wonderful, solid starting point. And I just knew from what he said to me that he understood the album and he was very passionate about it. And that just spoke volumes. And I just thought, yeah. And the other label were a very well respected, more depressive metal label from Asia. And I love their repertoire as well. And I was kind of thinking maybe go with them, but in the end I really just resonated with Northern Silence, and I just knew that the vision was the same. And he's very sort of underground, and he's curated some albums that I love. So it was an absolute thrill to be picked up and to be assisted by a label like his. So it's been great. It's been fantastic working with him. He understood the concept. And, we've sort of gone with it.
When I heard it for the first time, as I mentioned, I loved it. I really do. What's the response from other people been like? It's
overall getting, I'd say, very good reviews. It's but more than that, it's people sending me messages from around the world, just getting it's so beautiful and overwhelming in the best way to get a message saying, oh, your song Catacombs made me cry, or this song sounds, this particular song, there's just something I had to write to you and thank you for your music. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I didn't expect that. And other artists who I respect, like just to get them writing to me as well. There's been 3 or 4 artists who I really admire, and they've written to me and said, "Can you be on our next album? Can we collaborate?" And it just means the world to me, because I just respect these people, and I also respect the audience so much, and their goodwill is just everything. So yeah, it's pretty amazing time.
Now, I did notice that there was a gig mentioned just sort of recently. What's the deal there?
We played 4 shows in a row in February, March, and we got to open for Zeal and Ardor and Lindsay Schoolcraft when she came out and did a solo thing without Cradle of Filth, and we got to play with Anal and the Thrak, and it's just been absolutely mind-blowing just playing as an acoustic ensemble. But now that the album's out, we need to go back, and we've started nutting out the guitar parts and recreating the sound of the album, still keeping that acoustic flavour, because now that there'll be 3 guitars now, so there'll be the acoustic and the 2 electrics, and be playing one of the electrics now, and I must say, Mel, I have missed playing my PRS. It's such a it's such a beautiful instrument, and my rig is, I'm getting all kind of flustered, just thinking about my rig. So it's just the tones, and I'm working with a brilliant guitarist he plays in a technical death metal, and he's also in a post rock band. So he totally got what I was doing with Suldusk, and when I asked him if he'd like to collaborate, he was like so stoked, and I'm super stoked. I'm even more stoked to have him on board, because he's a great technician. So we're nutting out the recreation of the frequencies in a live capacity, and I'm just loving doing that, and yeah, seeing it come together on a bigger level. And my tribal drummer gets to go behind a kit, and he had a big shit-eating grin on his face the other day when he got behind the kit. He was like, he's like a really happy man. So it's just a lot of fun to realise that. And we don't really have any gigs. We're doing a couple of little charity shows. I'm going to promote them a little bit, but because they're still acoustic, I don't really want to mislead people, and I really kind of want to save up the reveal factor. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Speaking of going to a bigger level, when do you reckon you'll be hopping on a plane?
I think, well, let's say I'm getting my passport ready now, so because I know it takes a while. But next year, I think, Mel, that's the wish. I hope we get invited to play a few festivals, and I have got my eye on one in particular, which is in Colorado. It's called Fire in the Mountains, and they have this, it's like a pagan-y, environmentally conscious get together. All the black metal Wolves in the Throne Room are playing this year, and just a few of the other bands are just kind of my flavour. So that's one I've had my eye on for the last few years, but we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I'm putting it out there. But yeah, there's a few other festivals around as well, but hopefully it unfolds. But
all right, so we've got this album out, and Northern Silence are on board. Where can we pick it up?
We can get it at Suldusk Bandcamp. You just need to Google that, or you can go for the Northern Silence Productions Bandcamp, and it'll be available for streaming as well, which is on April 12th, and it'll be Apple Music and Spotify and all the other providers. And I think that's pretty much covers everything. It's on YouTube as well. The full album's on 4 channels actually. So again, you just Google that and it'll come up. And that's been fun watching all the comments appear. People think the artist doesn't look at the comments, but if you're You stalk it.
Emily Highfield, great to have you on the show talking about the Suldusk album, and great to hear your insight into it. And as I mentioned, I love it. I wish you every success with it, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, Mal, and thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for the great chat.